a must-know type of thing. And this diaphragm, is a multifaceted lecture. It bothers you in your GI, it did. It is again in respiratory, and then it will be going with your renal as well. So this lecture is connected everywhere. So be careful with this. And don't cry, oh, we learned this lecture here in respiratory, and why you're asking questions in renal, and why you're asking questions in GI. So this is something which is in partition, which is in between. So these are those kind of things where you need to be very expected to be good at it. Okay, so to start with the small note, you have taken the lab session, and I'm thinking that you're good. What is your perception about the diaphragm? Okay, morning. Your ringer says. What is your perception about the diaphragm?
It's a partition between the thorax and the perineum.
So you're saying is a partition, is a divider which separates my thoracic cavity from the abdominal cavity. We are right with this?
Yes.
Now, who will tell me what is the extent, what is the upper extent of the diaphragm? How far it is visible, how far it goes? Say it. Huh?
He said.
No, you say it, no problem.
T3?
I love you same like I love Amodi. Huh?
T3?
Why T3? Why T3? T3 I need to have a section, then I can figure it out.
From T1 to T3?
From T1 to T3. Yeah, you are giving a range. Who will help me? Yes, Mohammed. Villa. Maybe T8. Yes, Badr. Huh? Wow. I'm asking upper limit. You are showing me the, I don't know, even it's not lower limit.
T6 for the dogs.
T4. Actually, the point is, the right one, yeah, you want to say something? Say it. No, say it. I respect your comments.
The right one is different from the left.
Love you. I love you for saying this. Right one is different from left one. Right one is going high. Left one is not reaching that high. So, the right one reach up to your nipple level, roughly 4th intercostal space. It goes right up to the 4th intercostal space, and it corresponds to the nipple level. Because if you remember, when we were learning about the liver, we talked about that liver can extend up to the nipple level. So nipple level, if liver can expand, so anything which is above the liver, it should be going with the same thing. And there is no partition between the liver and your diaphragm. So diaphragm is a partition, very rightly said, and it separates my thoracic cavity from my abdominal cavity. So now this structure, it has a very integral part. And if we really need to look at it, we need to look at it as different attachments. And this muscle has a very active role in performing inspiratory kind of respiratory activities. So for inspiration, we need it badly. If someone's diaphragm is affected, means it's not a good news. Two muscles which are very pivotal in our life. One of them is posterior cricoarytenoid muscle, and second muscle is the diaphragm. So these two muscles are having a very significant role to play in someone's living and non-living. So they are very integral muscles. I'm not saying other muscles are not important, but they have a very key role in, coming to differentiating when we are having different issues. Now, to understand the diaphragm, first we need to look at it from where it's coming. Paul will be talking about it, but let me put things here. So we are looking at a developmental picture. This is before our birth. What happens? What you can see here, there we are looking at the different sources. I'm not going in detail, I'm leaving it for him, but I want to just to touch upon certain points. So my first point is the septum transversum. So this is my septum transversum. You just need to look at these structures. So this is my septum transversum. That is, there are 4 elements which contribute in making my diaphragm. and septum diaphragm is septum transversum is one of the integral part. And where we can see septum transversum, this whole white half moon kind of thing, that is my septum transversum. What is number 2? Mesentery of the esophagus. So dorsal mesentery of the esophagus, you can see that this mesentery which is coming from the back, and then the body wall. You can see where is number 3. So body wall is here. You can see the strip which is going around both sides. So this is the ingredient number 3. And what is number 4? The pleuroperitoneal membrane. We can see this pink stuff on both the sides. So this number 4 is my pleuroperitoneal membrane. So if somebody asks you what is the developmental origin of the diaphragm, developmental origin of the diaphragm is diaphragm develops from these 4 sources. And you need to be good at them, 1, 2, 3, 4. But do we have septum transversum, dorsal mesentery of the esophagus, the body wall, and pleuroperitoneal membrane? These words should be on your fingertips. One of the important point to be considered when we are writing exam questions. And there you can see in different colors, it's really showing you how they can be distinguished. This is the same picture but another view with different colors. Are we clear with that? So this is developmentally. But morphologically, what is diaphragm? Diaphragm is representing, we were learning about a muscle, transversus abdominis. So transversus abdominis we don't have in the thoracic cavity. We talk about there are 3 layers which wraps our trunk from the neck to the pelvis. We learn in the GI that there is an external oblique, internal oblique, and transversus abdominis. And when I was talking about intercostal muscles, I mentioned very clearly external intercostal is representing external oblique, internal intercostal is representing internal oblique, but the innermost one, which is a patchy layer, which is not a complete layer. So the transversus abdominis actually, it's understanding. It's all about understanding. So diaphragm is representing the transversus abdominis part. It is lower down, but this is the element who was making my transversus abdominis. So that element is contributing in making of the diaphragm. That is a morphological understanding. But developmental understanding, we need to be good at it. What is septum transversum? What is my pleuroperitoneal membranes? What is my body cavity? And what is the last thing? Dorsal mesentery of the esophagus. So we need to be good with these 4 points. Guys, if you are good with these 4 points, I think there is nothing left behind. The rest all will be explained to you. And you need to be good with the diaphragm, because diaphragm plays a significant role in our day-to-day life. Now, let's see what are the different sources from where we have diaphragm is coming. So to understand that, I need 3 people, 3 volunteers. Come, 3 volunteers, any 3.
Okay, game.
I need just 3 people here. Abdul Karim, you cannot come? So we are making together diaphragm, okay? So he is on back. He is the vertebral body. Come Abdul Karim. You are here. You are here. Can you see these 3 people? Now look at their hands. Now, to understand diaphragm, diaphragm comes from 3 sources. It is attached at 3 different places. One is on the vertebrae, one is on the ribs, and the last one is on the sternum. So now, anterior-laterally, morning Ali. So these are my cruras. One is crus, left crus, right crus. 2 crus merge to make a crura. So collectively I call them, the plural is called crura, and these 2 crura, the fiber merge in the midline. Does it make an arc? Tell me, does it make an arc here? We all know what is an arc. So it makes an arc. It's in the midline. Suggest a name for that. Median. Median means midline. Arc, arcuate. It's kind of a ligament. Can I call it median arcuate ligament? We have seen it, it's coming from the vertebral bodies. From the left, L1 and L2. On the right, L1, 2 and 3. So right and left crusts which are attached onto the anterior lateral part of my vertebral bodies. These two crusts, they merge in the midline, so we call it crura. So these cruras, they merge and they give me median arcuate ligament. Are we good with that? So this median arcuate ligament is the source which is giving us the attachment of the posterior fibers. And that was represented by self in our previous model. So let's put things here. This is what? Sternum. And this is what? The costal margin. And this is L1, 2 and 3. Are we good with this? So now, this is my psoas major muscle and next to it is my quadratus lumborum because it's abdomen. So psoas major and quadratus lumborum muscle. We learned about quadratus femoris also. You remember? 50 years back. So psoas major, quadratus lumborum. So what do we have? Where are the attachments? So you can see that. Now the fascias. The fascias who cover the psoas, that becomes thick. The fascia who covers my quadratus lumborum, it becomes thick. So this one will be what? My psoas fascia. And this one will be what? My lumbar fascia. So my lumbar fascia shows a thickening. My psoas fascia shows a thickening. These thickenings, can't they show us some kind of arc? Can you see there is an arc? There is an arc. And these muscles, they were attached on the 12th rib. My psoas major muscle is also attached to the vertebral bodies. It's also attached to the intervertebral discs which are present between these bodies, to my lumbar vertebrae. So I have an arc here, I call it median arcuate ligament. Suggest what name should be given to this arc? From median to medial. This is midline, median. This is medial and this must be lateral. So I have three arches. Median, medial, lateral. And these three arches are responsible for my posterior attachments of the diaphragm. So diaphragm, when we say that, coming from the posterior origins, I will not use the word origins, the posterior attachments of the diaphragm, that is coming from my median arcuate ligament, my medial arcuate ligament and my lateral arcuate ligament. So let's put the things here. So there you are looking at, what is that? Sternal origin. So that will be. So now this arrow is indicating from where my diaphragm is coming from the sternum. Now this arrow is coming down and it is showing me the attachments from the posterior part. So here you are seeing it from the sternum it's coming, and here you are seeing it, it's coming from these arches. And what arches we have? Median, medial and lateral arcuate arches. So now costal origin, lower ribs. So you can see that these are my costal origins. What do you mean by saying the costal margin? The lower ribs and their adjoining costal cartilages. So those two were represented by my two fellows. They were standing on the side. So that is the costal origin, right and left. And I was representing what was coming from the front, from the xiphoid part of the sternum. So now we had, how much we had? We have sternal origin, we have costal origin and we have lumbar origin. I hope people are clear with the terms. What are these lumbar origins, what are these costal origins and what are these sternal origins? Are we good with this? Anybody has any issue with this? Okay, so now we give it a name and we used to call it lateral arcuate ligament. This was called as medial arcuate ligament, and there's a triangle here. If you don't know about it, it's okay. And now these are my two right and left crusts, and they are making median arcuate ligament in the midline. We can see that. This is my median arcuate ligament, and this is what? So you can see that my diaphragm has a muscular part and it has a fibrous part. This fibrous part, if I look like, it looks like more a word. I know so many of you like to play cards. How many of you play cards? Only few? Then what are you doing? You don't play football, you don't play cards, you don't watch movies, you don't study. So what do you do? What is the purpose of the life?
Trying.
Do something.
Pray.
Pray. Wow, I love you, man. Such a spiritual class. I wish I should take light from you. So pray for me. Remember me in your prayers. So guys, what do we have? We had a muscular part. And why I was asking cards? Because when you don't play cards. Okay, it's good. But I'm sure you must have seen cards some time of your life. Somebody playing a card. How many of you have seen people playing cards? I think everybody. So one of the symbols which is used in playing cards is like this, but it's different, but that's called club. You know club? And what is the Arabic version, Yazan, for club? What do you call club in Arabic?
Syria.
Khalas, you know it? Fine. Tell me afterwards. So, this is the central tendon which... Khalas, nice. Finish.
Doctor, this is a spade, not a club.
Okay. I have no problem. Because I'm not playing cards. Thank you for correcting me. So, the fibers coming from the vertebral origin, the fibers coming from the costal fibers, and the fibers coming from the sternum, they all merge at one common place, which is looking here as whitish in color, and it has three leaves to it. When I Google this word, it has so many meanings and they have so many versions for that. I know everybody can Google it, so do it yourself. And now, the beauty of this part primarily comes from septum transversum, and if you can see, there is one opening which is present in this part. So this opening should correspond to my T8 vertebral level, and it is very important. Why? If this could have been here or this could have been here, because this opening is representing my inferior vena cava, this opening is representing my esophagus, and this opening is representing my arch of aorta. So why I don't have esophagus and aorta present in this central tendon of the diaphragm? Any person can give the answer. Yes, Mas. Okay, Mas is answering. Let's listen to him. And if you have a better option, I will come to you. Okay, Mas. Excuse me. Hello. Are you part of this class? Or you want to take a lecture? Come here. Yalla. Give your lecture. Mas. You are not Mas. Are you Mas? You change your name overnight? Mas. Yeah, I am repeating question for you. My question was that why we need to have inferior vena cava in the central tendon of the diaphragm? Why it cannot be? Are you Mas? Yes, Mas. If you don't know it, just I said so many people. I stopped so many people. You know it or you don't know it?
No, I don't know.
Khalas then. Ejaz. Then why you are raising your hand? Ejaz, you don't know. Now you?
To prevent compression, because the tendons don't, they're not elastic. So.
Any other good idea? Yes. You're close, but you need to change your words. Yes.
They are more posterior.
Yes.
Because veins don't have enough pressure to withstand the contraction of muscle.
Makes sense. You're very close. Guys, listen to your friends. Answers are with you. I'm not bringing something new here. Look. Yes.
They are the essentials.
Huh?
The essentials, the muscles, the fibers.
No.
The end of the
Luai, you have something?
Yes.
Say it.
No, it's close to what they said. It's about the compression of the muscles compared to the...
You're so busy with your mobile. What are you writing? I'm watching you for last 10 minutes.
We got the results just by...
So it doesn't matter. Focus for what results are coming next week. What you have done is next week. Yeah. Yes, Luai.
Yeah, it's
Say it again.
uh,
Is it Mashwar? You don't want to take it, Khaliwali?
I think because we need muscle to compress the esophagus, like to break the sphincter or something like that.
We need a sphincter for the esophagus, but for the inferior vena cava, it's like if you compress it, it's gonna be blocked easily.
It will
Be blocked easily.
Yeah, because it's
So your answers, so many of you have appropriate answers, but only you need to articulate your words. The bottom line is that inferior vena cava is a structure out of these three. These three main structures. Inferior vena cava is something which don't have a thick wall and the blood is returning and it's not coming with a big pressure. Only it needs to accommodate. So we need inferior vena cava opening, inferior vena cava to stay open all the time. So it is attached with this part and so its fibers has been stretched from all the sides. Now if we look at the esophagus has a muscular wall and when there is no food it is in a collapsed form. But what happens when there is a bolus of food is passing, that bolus stretches it out. So that bolus can make a space. So even if this opening passes through the muscles, but once the bolus of the food is coming, so that can stretch the fibers and can make its way. And the aorta which is passing through one of the opening, one of the level, that is also blood has, and aorta itself has thick wall and it is elastic, it should be, and there is a big pressure of blood which is passing by, so it can make its opening appropriate, it can maintain its opening. But for the venous return, we need some support so that it should not collapse. So that's why the central tendon of the diaphragm that lodges the opening for the inferior vena cava, and this caval opening correspond to my 8th thoracic vertebra level, my aorta correspond to the 12th, and my esophagus correspond to the 10th. What I'm saying 8th, 10th and 12th, this is for easy purposes. Some of your book says between T8 and 9, T10 and blah blah, and T12 and blah blah, that's your things. But if you write T8, T10, T12, it's easy to learn, it's easy to recall, and we accept this answer. But some book comes up with more precise answers, that's not a big deal. So if you can put those, it's fine. But if you stay with T8, T10 and T12 formula, it's easy to go and at your level it's fine, it's acceptable. But remember, these are not the only structures which passes through. There are some minor structures and you need to be good at it. What other structures are passing from the opening which is at 8th level, at 10th level, at 12th level, and what are other openings? Are we good?
Yes. Okay, right, left, vagus.
Okay. So we were set so far. So all of them, they come into the central tendon, and this is the central tendon, and this is the opening for aortic hiatus. Even I put 12 and L1 if you are really having issues with that. So esophagus 10, we talk about this. And this is where you are looking at the aorta. When the descending thoracic aorta passes through the diaphragm, and it is visible on the other side in the GI part, we call it, that's the demarcation point where the thoracic aorta is converted into abdominal aorta. So now you can see that inferiorly onto the undersurface of the diaphragm, we had branches which are emerging from the aorta, and these branches are on both the sides. So we have right and left inferior phrenic artery. The word phrenic is designated for saying diaphragm. Only this diaphragm. We have 4 diaphragms in our body. Right now, one in the pelvic region, one in the abdominothoracic region, and one in the oral region, your oral diaphragm, and one is within your skull. So we have 4 diaphragms in our body, and we are dealing with one of them. So this diaphragm, this is the only diaphragm where we use the word phrenic. So phrenic distinguishes from other things. So inferior phrenic artery on right and left, which are the direct branches which are coming from the aorta, and that is supplying the undersurface of the diaphragm, the surface of the diaphragm which is looking at the GI. Now you can see that the opening of the esophagus, and where esophagus passes, along with the esophagus, we know that 2 nerves should come. Before its entry, we were having right and left vagus nerves. Right and left vagus nerves, they blend. They make a plexus which encircles the esophagus. And from this plexus, due to the rotation, we have anterior and posterior vagal trunks now. We don't have right and left vagus nerves. Now we have anterior and posterior vagal trunks, and you can see that they are these 2 dark yellow structures which are coming with this tube, this hollow tube, muscular tube, and these are my vagus, but they are anterior and posterior vagal trunks. Are we good so far? So there you can see inferior vena cava. And now left phrenic nerve is also coming. You can see that it pierces it. Phrenic nerve supplies the diaphragm. Why phrenic nerves supplies the diaphragm? That's my question. Phrenic nerve is a nerve of the is a part of the cervical plexus. And why it is bothered all the way down? You guys had taken it in the evening lab, so don't raise your hand. I'm talking those who are not there in the evening lab. I'm asking them. Yes, Ahmed Juma. Anyone else? Bilal.
What's the question?
Wow, I love your. Phrenic nerve is a nerve of the neck. Why it bothers all the way to supply the diaphragm? Why it travels all the way? Why don't we have direct supplies? Yes, Abdul Karim.
Because you have the respiratory center in the brainstem.
We have so many, all the centers in the brainstem and the brain. So it means we should have direct branches from there. If I take your formula, yes.
Because it supplies the pericardium as well.
No, but why? Why we don't take a local supply? Look, you are living in the kingdom, and if your and what is your most commonly used thing? If your bread is made in US and you are asking from there, what's the big deal? Why can't you take a bread from kingdom? Why you're ordering from US? It's the same bread, same manufacturer. Why you need to get it from US? Same ingredients. Like phrenic nerve is a kind of a spinal nerve. Am I right? So we have so many spinal nerves in the thoracic cavity. Why we need to bring one spinal nerve from the cervical part of the neck, and then we are bringing it down and we are, yes, Amudi.
Because it's near to the respiratory centers.
No, my dear. Abdul Karim was saying the same concern. Respiratory center, we have other centers which are present in our brain stem. So then every center should have its direct supplies. Then why we need those? It can travel more safe if it is running within the spinal cord. Here it goes independently, it's not protected. It can be damaged any time. But spinal cord injury is less likely. But phrenic injury is more likely if we see theoretically. Any idea, guys? Ahmed. Faisal. I know you came late, you put something on charging like my Faisal, my friend Hassan, and now you're busy in doing some other activity. Are you controlling the traffic plan of Al Faisal University here? So what is the plan today? Gate 1 is used forward and gate 2 is used forward. So answer my question. Class. Anybody else?
Trauma and the spinal cord, the upper part will not be damaged.
Are you not part of the evening lab? Why are you raising your hand? Yes.
Is it because the phrenic nerve has a pacemaker effect? So it doesn't activate the other spinal nerves as well?
Maz, why are you playing with your mobile? Some news coming to you that you are made Prime Minister of your country?
Googling.
Anything? Fauzi will answer us. Fauzi.
Because of its origin.
Origin. I love you, Fauzi. For your deep thoughts. Who else? Ajaz has answered? No. Ajaz says no. Don't touch me. Abdul Samad, you are busy with your evening program? You are booking the stuff for tonight? So give me the answer. Shh. Guys, listen, he might have answer. Yes? What embryological reason? It's easy to say embryological reason. What embryological reason? Once upon a time. Laik will tell us. Yes, Laik. Abdullah. Okay, khalas, now let's break it. Seth was jumping. Yes, Seth.
Because
Don't tell me it's embryological origin. I need reason. It is embryological reason, but that is what is the reason?
The diaphragm originates at the cervical level.
Guys, can you listen to him? Say loud.
The diaphragm originates at the cervical level, and the nerve supply at that time, when you grow up, like it goes down.
Septum transversum part of the diaphragm develops in the neck and then it migrates. So when it migrates, it carries with its own supply with that. Let's say you start living in Japan. If you are original born Saudi, and you got a job in Japan, so will you, and in that area you can only get sushi and all that stuff, but you love to have your mandi and everything. So won't you not carry your spices from here if this is not available there? Is it not your ritual? You want to carry your own personal things, which are your Arabic cuisines and all that stuff, because you want to taste your stuff. There is no such thing. So this nerve, this diaphragm, the part of this, it develops in the neck and then it migrates down. When it migrates down, it carries all its supply with that. Like, let me put another example, like testes, they develop in my posterior abdominal wall. And these testes, these gonads, they descend down. When they descend down to reach to the scrotum for its own reasons. But it carries its testicular artery and vein and everything from the posterior abdominal wall, and they are going all the way down. So that is happening, and these kind of concepts should be very clear. So that's why phrenic nerve has to travel all the way down to carry, and then septum transversum is not only contributing in making the diaphragm, Paul will be telling you more, but it contributes in making pericardium, part of the pericardium, part of the, so whatsoever, wheresoever the phrenic nerve is being innervating, think those areas are also having some developmental connections with that part which is migrating from the neck. That's why you learn when you are learning the mediastinal pleura, the parietal pleura, what is the nerve supply, the pericardium, which part of the fibrous pericardium, why it is supplied by this. So we need to have a logic, we need to have a reason. And this phrenic nerve, when it emerges down under the diaphragm, it also connects with the peritoneum as well. So once somebody has an inflamed gallbladder, some pain in the gallbladder, and that pain, that gallbladder irritates the diaphragm. When diaphragm is initiated, diaphragm is irritated, so now pain travels with the phrenic nerve, because phrenic nerve is the main nerve of my diaphragm. So the pain fibers have been transmitting this pain to the neck and to the tip of my shoulder. So this is how we should establish these kind of connections, and this is how it can traverse. So Yazan will tell us why the pain of the heart is traversing to the neck and to the lower jaw, and what is the connection?
It's because of the phrenic nerve.
Wow, I love your answer. If you write this, nobody can stop you getting a 0. So, this is my left phrenic nerve, and we can see that, left phrenic nerve was coming from the muscular part, and the right phrenic nerve was coming from where? From the central tendon of the diaphragm. So there is a difference, but they have their own opening, and we don't really need to memorize what level it pierces the diaphragm. And if you look at the, guys, phrenic nerve, you should know everything about it. Phrenic nerve mainly is formed by C3, 4 and 5, and the chief element is 4th. And this phrenic nerve is motor, because diaphragm is a muscle. So it's motor to diaphragm, and it has sensory contributions, because pleura is not a muscle, pericardium is not a muscle. So there are sensations. So if we irritate, if we just apply something, some stimulus to the phrenic nerve, we can have pain, and this pericarditis type of pain, and it is being transmitting through that. So you need to spend time with the phrenic nerve. So now you can see that two nerves are coming anteriorly, just close to the attachment of the sternum. And what are these nerves? Anterior branches of the left and right phrenic nerve. So it's not only the phrenic nerve which is coming down to the undersurface of the diaphragm. We have right and left anterior branches of the phrenic nerve. They are also seen coming. Going further, you can see posteriorly, just under this arch, my medial arcuate arch, we can see that there are two sympathetic chains which are connecting the pelvis to the neck region, and I have the sympathetic chain which is running all the way up parallel to my vertebral column. So these are my sympathetic chains, and now I have the splanchnic nerves. Splanchnic, we used this word before. Splanchnic, another word for saying splanchnic is the visceral nerves. So these visceral nerves are there, they are visible to you. And then what you can see here, there are three greater, lesser and least splanchnic nerves. and they are contributing in different, and that this lecture, my last lecture, is covering all the nerves, all important connections. So be careful with that lecture and come with a big cup of coffee. You need to have with a good brain. I know your mall midterm is close by, but be ready with that. So these splanchnic nerves are here. Now, this is what we are looking at, a real cadaveric diaphragm from the top, and this is the place central tendon where pericardium, heart is sitting, and you can see this is where the liver and lungs and everything is underneath, and you can see these openings, and we need to be good with these openings, and you are looking at, remember, without any problem, the fibrous part should be caval opening. This is in front of the aorta, on the left side should be a aortic opening, and something which is collapsed form, that must be your esophageal opening. So you can say blindly what level they are piercing the diaphragm, because diaphragm is not a flat sheet, is something dome shaped. So you are finding different levels to it. Now we are looking at diaphragm from the top, and you can see the arrangement. You can see from the underneath. You can see these things, what we are listening, and you can see from a side view. So these are different views of the diaphragm for you, and now you can see that theoretically the different levels and how it corresponds. Now we talk about this slide. I've just put it here just to re-emphasize my vagus. Vagus always cross, always enter, and they go behind, posterior to the hilum of the lung. And that is the characteristic of vagus. And then you can see that it gives its recurrence. And now these phrenics, they are coming in front of the hilum of the lung. So on a cadaver, if you are given this task in the exam, where is the vagus and where is the phrenic? So be careful. Any nerve which goes anterior to the hilum of the lung, that must be phrenic, and any nerve which goes posterior to the hilum of the lung, that must be vagus nerve. And phrenic nerve, you will be seeing it, it's going down all the way because its final destiny is to supply the diaphragm. Are we good so far? So we have seen the phrenics. Now, openings in the diaphragm, we talk about those. The blood supply, we mentioned here. Phrenics, we talk about. And you can see that phrenics, how much emphasis I'm putting on the phrenic, you can see that. This is how it's coming. It supplies all and it goes underneath and it contributes. Diaphragm, when you are asked about to give the nerve supply of the diaphragm, you can say that phrenic nerve, and some subcostal nerves also contribute. Some costal, and because the lower ribs are also supplying. So those fibers which are coming from those, the costal fibers, so they are getting their supplies from the intercostal nerves as well and subcostal nerve as well. So they are also being contributing in supplying this. Yes, Mars, what is your question?
Sir, so the left fit,
Mars, how many times I told you don't take anybody's name? If you have any controversy, go and open a book. I can be wrong 2 million times. I cannot say about my other colleagues. If you have such issue, go and open your book. It's not the place, he said this, she said this, I don't care. I care what book says. I can be, if you take on me, I can be 100% wrong. I'm not authority on the things. If you have such issue, go and open the book and come to me with some evidence. So, phrenic nerve, we talk about how diaphragm is helpful in. Okay, one thing very important. When we are talking about the breathing activities, we should not forget. We talk about the anterior posterior increase in the diameter of the rib cage. There were two factors who were contributing. One was the upper ribs, rib number 2 to rib number 6. Am I right? And then the sternocostal joint. The sternocostal joint, guys, this sternocostal joint, there we have a movement like a pivot kind of joint. Is a pivot kind of joint. Is not that thing. And if somebody is suffering, if somebody is having spondylosis of this joint, somebody has disease process within this joint, so that person will not be able to increase the anterior posterior diameter. Example is those who are suffering from emphysema. They have problem, usually they have problem with the sternocostal joint, and then there is no movement occurring at that. And this joint contributes in a big way in giving us the increase in the AP diameter. So now in these individuals, during inspiration, diaphragm is the main action, diaphragm is the main actor which is helping to increase the rib cage. The vertical is the main play now, because before They were all contributing, but if somebody has a problem with the joint between the this sternocostal joint, so this person will be suffering from that, and then we have movement only, which during inspiration diaphragm is only effective. So please be clear about this joint. So that is a pivotal role. We talk about it, how diaphragm help us increase in the vertical diameter, it descends down and we have increase in dimensions, and there we can accommodate the lungs. And there you are looking at the central tendon of the diaphragm. Are we good so far? So now the clinicals. So the different openings, different congenital anomalies, and these congenital anomalies are if there is some opening which is formed after or some developmental. So this has been explained. This is just good to know type of thing. No need to stress on that. Where you need to stress on?
Phrenic nerve.
Where you need to stress on phrenic, and then the attachment of the diaphragm and different levels of the diaphragm, and what other structures, like from where esophagus passes, from where other things are passing, there you need to be good at those. So please be strong with that. And now you can see that two kinds of hernias. One is the rolling type of hernia and one is a sliding type of hernia. So stomach can go in, get out. So this opening where esophagus is passing, this is the T10 level. If this part is relaxed, this opening is big, so there is a chance stomach can pop up, and there you can see there is like these two variants of having the herniation of the diaphragm through the diaphragm of the stomach. Yes, you have a question?
Which type of hernia is worse? Is it like...
My dear, it depends who got stuck. If you don't get stuck, there's no problem. Any disease is a problem. Don't think this disease is a good... Okay, if you are given a choice, God forbidding, nobody should. If you are like, it is said you have to take a cancer. Which cancer you will prefer? Yeah, haram. Nobody likes it. But if you are told there is a cancer for you, now which cancer you like to take?
Fat cancer.
Breast, my dear, sorry. Breast cancer, you need to be a female for that. So nothing is now is difficult for you. We cannot get that. Think something different.
Fat cancer.
Any other idea? Ali will tell us. Yes, Ali. Ali Tawil. Small cell carcinoma kills you like this.
Skin cancer.
Somebody is very close. Yes, skin carcinoma. Which skin carcinoma?
Basal cell?
Basal cell carcinoma. Very slow growth. Very slowly coming. People live with that for ages and then they die. But even it's bad, it's a cancer. But if there is no choice and you are taken, okay, there are these 2 million cancers are sitting here, which one you should take? So pick basal cell because it's more slowly growing. I think we are done.